I would like to introduce Randy, if that's okay, Randy. Randy is our very good friend and our community partner. She is with Home Watch. What is your official title, Randy?
Much Caregivers. I'm the Director of Community Outreach and Client
Community
Care.
Outreach. Yeah, the Director of Community Outreach and Client Care at Home Watch Caregivers. So please welcome Randy Brockman.
Hi. So it's so wonderful to be back. I really have enjoyed the relationship that Michelle and I have developed over the past year, actually. And it's a pleasure to be able to join you. I'm a social worker with Home Watch Caregivers. We're a home health aid agency that's been serving the community, Essex County, Union County, part of Passaic, and part of Morris County for over 11 years. We have about 110 caregivers out in the community. And our caregivers are all certified home health aides, and they're supervised by nurses, licensed nurses and social workers, so that each family really gets direct care and direct connection to help through a difficult time. Some of our clients are short-term, and they're people who come out of surgery and need a short amount of care while they're in rehabbing at home. And then we also have long-term care clients who need either companionship. We take care of people who have memory care issues, and also just people who need assistance with the activities of daily living. This has been a really difficult time for families during this pandemic. And we have spent a lot of time, effort, and money to make sure that our clients and our caregivers are safe. We provide all of the necessary PPE, something that probably none of us knew about many months ago. And now we know about it. We talk about it all the time. And Home Watch Caregivers has already completed 2.5 months where we're actually doing testing of all of our clients and our caregivers on a regular basis to make sure that everybody stays safe. You know, you can have that person who's asymptomatic. You don't want them going into somebody's home and making somebody else ill. So we're checking everybody on a regular basis, and we've been pretty lucky. We also get our responses back in about 24 to 48 hours. So that also helps us keep everyone safe. It's been my pleasure to partner with Michelle and to bring some of my new associates into the community. They have a wealth of knowledge to share, and I know when people are in their homes, it's beneficial to everyone to learn more about keeping yourself safe, keeping yourself healthy, and keeping your life in order. And Mike did a program for us earlier, and he's going to do another one today. And he was wonderful last time. I'm sure he's going to be wonderful again today. So thank you again. And Mike, take it away.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Randy, for the kind introduction, and Michelle as well for being able here and speaking to all you kind folks today. Again, I'm Mike Coco. I live in Montclair, so I'm coming to you live from my 7th Avenue house in my home office in here, right in Montclair. I grew up in Nutley, so I'm been part of the Essex County community and our local township communities here all my life. And again, I really love speaking to people, helping to educate them about their finances, things that they can just keep in mind that can help themselves, your families, future generations to come. So today's presentation, and I'll share my screen here, is called the Family Love Letter. And the Family Love Letter, by the way, for anyone who would like a copy of it, there's a Family Love Letter. It's called Share Your Love Family Discussion Guide. And I'm happy to email this or print it out and mail it to anyone, completely free of charge, complimentary, with no obligation, of course, to do business or anything. It's my gift to all of you today by sharing. So please follow up with either myself or Michelle or Randy, and we'll get this to you. But basically, and I'm going to discuss a lot today about this guide, but it's basically a love letter that you leave to your family and your loved ones so that they know the full scope of your wishes, not just, and it goes way beyond what, let's say, a will or something may do, as you'll soon see from today's presentation. So again, my gift to you is I'm happy to provide that to anyone who would want one. So again, looking into the Family Love Letter and talking first about the purpose of estate planning. And remember, estate planning, simply saying, is just making sure that at a period of time and when that you're not here, how do your loved ones, the people that you leave behind, how do you make them as best off as possible, and also to follow through on wishes that you may want done. Let's talk about the purposes of estate planning. And there are some misconceptions. People hear estate planning and they think of, oh, it's just for the super rich. I don't have that sort of money. I don't need to do estate planning. But that is certainly not true at all. People that have, from very few assets to a large amount of assets, and everyone in between needs to have some sort of an estate plan. And really, because not having an estate plan, they often say that the one cliche thing, but I absolutely agree with, is if you're failing to plan, you're just planning to fail. And I've seen it on both sides with, I've been doing this for 15 years. I've had some clients that had a very well-off estate plan in terms of making sure that everything was lined up for their wishes so that the next generations can see through, the plan and to help, manage their estate. But I've also seen clients that weren't prepared at all, that didn't have a will, didn't have any of these things buttoned up, and it had created an enormous amount of work for either their spouse or their children to try to piece together. I don't even know where mom and dad's assets are. Where's this stock certificate? What did they want to do with this thing? Is, family infighting has started as a result of not planning. So if you take nothing else from today's presentation, is please go out there and make sure that you have at least some sort of estate plan so that when that time comes, when you're not on this earth, the people that you leave behind, you're not leaving an enormous pile of work to deal with at a time when they may be grieving because they're losing you, someone who they love very deeply. So I hope that makes sense to everyone. Again, a lot of it is about, they say death and taxes, the two certainties in life, right? And estate planning does deal with that in a large amount of ways. And the overall purpose is, again, to provide that legacy for the living, so that the people that you do, leave behind. There's two key principal elements of estate planning when we talk about it. One is to execute documents, again, that provide for your death or incapacity. And I often refer to these as sort of the big three. And I've also updated it to say, I had a fourth one as the big four. And these are documents that I truly believe everyone should have, no matter if you have $1 or $10 million. And they're one, the last will and testament, otherwise known as the will. And that's, again, who gets your stuff. And that's really the purpose of what a will is. And then there's the living will, again, with healthcare proxy. And that is, if you are incapacitated, who do you trust to make those medical decisions and can sign off on medical tests or procedures to be done? Because again, in absence of that, you may have two family members that feel very differently, maybe fighting against each other. But if you make it clear who is your healthcare proxy, that again can help create a lot more clarity when dealing with your future medical situations. 3 is a power of attorney. And a power of attorney document is, again, a document where if you are incapacitated, or even if not, there's actually two types, but the most popular one is if you're incapacitated, who can act on your behalf in a financial standpoint. So think of it as like a financial proxy to couple with the healthcare proxy. So if, let's say, you're incapacitated or you're not able to do certain things, who can write checks for you to pay your rent, to pay your mortgage, to pay your electrical bill, so you're not delinquent on any bills? Without having that power of attorney document, no one else can sign for you, and it's hard to get. If you become incapacitated, the person needs to go to the court and get a court ruling just to be able to write checks out on your behalf. So again, those are 3 really important documents to provide for your death or incapacity. 2, and I should say the 4th is and really it lies to the second one a little bit, but the 4th thing is, double check the beneficiaries on your life insurance and retirement accounts. And a lot of people don't know this, but anyone who you list as beneficiaries for your life insurance or retirement accounts, that supersedes your will. So even if you update your will, let's say, to give everything to Mickey Mouse, if you have Donald Duck as the beneficiary for your retirement account, Donald Duck's going to get your retirement account. So sometimes a lot of people don't know that or think about that. And they say, oh, I updated my will, I'm all good to go. But if you don't do the beneficiaries on those type of accounts, then you can be in a very sticky situation there. So provide that information relating to your assets, liabilities, and your wishes. We talked about that. Again, if you're failing to plan, if you're failing to plan, you're planning to fail. And as of not doing that, again, it could create that confusion, family conflict. Again, I've seen that several times over the years where when something isn't completely laid out with thought, it could lead to some family fighting, and nobody wants that, for their children, grandchildren. Lead to dissipation of assets or disposition of property against their wishes. Let's say that there was a certain amount of, let's say there was one child that you end up living with. And because of that, you want to give them a little bit extra because maybe they help take care of you more than other siblings. But if you don't make those adjustments and make them clearly, and let's say it just goes to everyone in equal shares, is it going to start fighting between the siblings? And was not your wishes as well? So making sure that just everything is done according to your wishes is really important, again, to help fulfill what you're looking to accomplish, but also to minimize any of that family infighting. Also can cause payment in excess income taxes or estate taxes. Now, right now, in the federal government is concerned, if you have an estate of less than, it's about $11.5 million now, you don't pay any federal estate taxes. So most of us are under that in terms of the amount of assets. Also currently in the state of New Jersey, and this is a law that has changed throughout the years, but I say currently, there is no estate tax in the state of New Jersey. Could it come back if they need to raise tax revenue? It's possible, but it was eliminated a couple years ago because too many people were leaving New Jersey because they didn't want to die in New Jersey and have their heirs be subject to estate tax. So now New Jersey eliminated that estate tax. What is still around, though, in New Jersey is something that's called inheritance tax. And that is different from your normal estate tax. And what an inheritance tax is if you're leaving money to someone other than what's called a Class A beneficiary. So anyone in your direct bloodline is Class A. So you can leave money to your spouse, and then it goes down from there. Your children, your grandchildren, they won't pay inheritance tax in New Jersey. But if you leave money outright to a nephew or a niece or a friend, it could result in inheritance tax. Again, there's different classes of beneficiaries. I don't want to get into all the details today, but I would say, again, speak to either your attorney, your accountant, or a planner if you have any concerns about this inheritance tax. And there are different ways that you could potentially plan to, again, minimize some of that tax, which, again, we'll touch on later and happy to follow up with. So the family love letter, which I'll get into, again, it's a compilation of all the information that your family will need the time of your passing, or if you should become incapacitated due to illness or injury. So again, it goes way beyond what's included in any of those legal estate planning documents, such as the will, living will, power of attorney. It's an inventory with contact information and locations of where are your financial papers, the estate papers, such as where are your wills and things like that, personal papers. It gives information to your family at a time of sorrow and confusion. I'm sure there's people on this call that have lost a loved one, could have been a spouse, a parent, where all of a sudden that happened. And now you're sifting through their estate saying, I have no idea where mom put her will, or I know dad had stock certificates somewhere, but who the heck knows where all these things are? It just creates confusion, a lot of stress and anxiety. Again, at a time where you should be grieving, not when you should have to be trying to put together the pieces of your loved one's estate. So what the family love letter does, again, provides that information at a time of confusion. Just investing and planning, you may do a great job of it, but it's not enough if no one knows about it and what your wishes are for. You may know in the back of your mind, oh yeah, that one IRA, that one there, I'm going to leave for my grandchild, to help them out in the future, da, da, da. But if it's not put down in paper, those intentions could be gone with you being gone. So just giving more information and sort of a playbook, a guideline to your loved ones. When you have a lack of information, it adds to that distress, again, that the family is going through. All the time searching for contact information, documents. I'm going through this right now with a client who her uncle passed away. He did not do any of this stuff. Again, he wasn't a client of mine. Unfortunately, never met the man. But she's a client of mine. He has stock certificates that are there, some lost stock certificates that now you have to pay, bond insurance on to recover them. There's random treasury bonds she's finding that doesn't even know if they have value. So there's all these different things. She's looking for different documents. It's cost her dozens and dozens of hours that could have been avoided if there was at least some sort of organization and like a family love letter type thing that could be done. Also, what if there's unknown accounts, policies that are lost? They get turned over to the New Jersey unclaimed property, and if you don't know to look for them, they may never be found, and then they could be a property of the state. That's one little tip too. If you just Google the New Jersey unclaimed property, you could do a search that's free. You go by the last name, the township that they lived in, and you can see if there's potentially assets that are out there that may need to be recovered if you had a family member that was in that sort of situation. So, and also as we go along as well, I'm happy to take questions, definitely take questions at the end, but if people have questions as we go along, feel free to, write it in the chat, or, Michelle, you can let me know if you see anything as well. In the chat. I can't see it on this side right now, but
yeah,
we actually have somebody now who Jennifer is asking about leaving passwords or phone numbers to be found only after you pass.
That's an excellent question. Yes, that is something that is addressed in the family love letter, which we'll get into, but absolutely. Thank you so much for bringing that up. So there is, absolutely a section where you can leave passwords, things like that. So that your family is not scrambling to try to find that. Also, there is something that I know Google does it, and I'm sure a lot of the other email clients or other places do this as well. But Google, I forget exactly what they call it though, but they have almost like a contingency plan, like an emergency contact you could set up, where if you don't log in for a certain amount of time, like 3 months or so, they will contact your emergency contact and basically release information to them so that your loved ones can get into your emails or things like that, almost setting up like a contingency plan. So that is something that more technology companies are getting more attuned to. Great question. So information in here can be organized in 4 sections. You have the advisors and financial information, insurance and benefits, documents and other information, and the family history and ethical will. First thing, and this is probably one of the more important things. I mean, everything's important here, right? But you need to know, let's say the people that you're working with throughout your life that are your trusted contact, whether it's your financial planner, your attorney, your accountant, your insurance person, leaving something as simple as a business card or contact information. So, and some of my clients joke, again, I've worked with them for so long and I handle a lot of their finances. My kids know if something happens to me, call Mike. And yeah, that'll probably do 90% of it. But what about the other 10% that doesn't necessarily have to do with me? How do you find that stuff? So by putting all the people's contact information in that book, it provides your family with the answer to the first question of Who do I contact? So that's super important. Also, investment strategy and assets, such as even a brief summary of, I have a mutual fund at Vanguard. I have a 401k at T. Rowe Price. I have a an investment account with Mike at Beacon Wealth Partners. Here's my Social Security benefits. Maybe here's some people that I owe money. Here's some people that owe money to me that I lent money. Because if it's only in your mind or in a little scrap of paper somewhere, what if they never find that? So by disclosing those certain things is just super important. Here's a great one, frequent flyer miles. Again, I don't know when the next time we'll fly is, but it's great. You might have miles or credit card points or things saved up. If your family doesn't know about it, that's an asset that could be lost. So by letting them know about that, they know who to call and who to contact. Again, any liabilities such as loans, financial obligations, what are personal loans you might have co-signed for, things that your family should know about when going through your estate. These are all important things they need to know to properly disperse and administer your estate. Also talking about credit card info, numbers, statements, web information, access info such as passwords, all the things that, again, are not disclosed in a will, but are super important to know about. How about, from insurance and benefits standpoint, what about any life insurance coverage you have? Some of us may have old policies that were done back in the day when we were really young, or our parents did it for when we were kids. Making sure your family knows about that, who to call, so it doesn't just fizzle away. Different health insurance, disability, long-term care. Let's say you bought long-term care and didn't share all the details with your family. You got incapacitated. How does the long-term care benefits pay? First step you got to do is file a claim. So if they don't know who to call, that would be very difficult. Obviously, home, auto insurance, just things that you might have to cancel if you didn't use it anymore. So knowing about different insurance carriers, policy numbers, premium amounts, things like that. Other information about insurance, such as who pays the premium, who owns the policy, benefits such as your retirement plan, maybe any deferred compensation or deferred pensions out there, survivor benefits that might be there that are going to your spouse or possibly children. Just the more you could just disclose, the better here. Documents and information such as the estate planning, the will, the living will, list of your property, trust documents, like we said, if there's any of those, personal and family, birth certificates, marriage certificates, because if you're going through things, you need a marriage certificate after passing. It's nice for them to have one. Property titles and deeds, because to retitle deeds of houses, maybe just tax returns, or at least an accountant contact to find that. If there was any ownership in a business, is there any ownership? What's the contingency plan? Who inherits the business? If you passed away, just knowing all those different things. I know it's a lot, but you can see how in the absence of planning, it's still going to be a lot, but it's going to be a lot for your loved ones to have to handle at a time when again, they're grieving and they have less information than you do today. So doing something is better than doing nothing at all. We talked about these documents again, the will, personal property, which is kind of part of the will if you want to leave certain things to people, the living will, the medical power of attorney, and the durable general power of attorney, which again is that financial proxy who controls the financial side. Talked about the will, information of the disposition of assets, choosing people to make decisions when you are gone, such as who will be the executor or executrix, if it's a female, of your estate, creating trusts for heirs. Let's say it's a child or grandchild that you don't want just managing their finances right away. You can put a trust provision inside your will, so you don't have to create a trust while you're alive, but the will creates it when you pass. So that way the money isn't given to them outright. There's some sort of protections with that. How to, again, provide guardians if you have any minor children, minimizing state and federal income tax, estate taxes or inheritance taxes. Talked about minimizing potential sources of conflict amongst family members, which again is a super important one as well. The property, if you want to get into it, you can say who gets certain property. Let's say there's a bookcase that was just an old one passed down from generation. You could see how families could potentially fight over it. I wanted mom's bookcase. That was one of in the family. No, I got it from grandma, this and that. Grandma said I can have it. So it just knowing and disclosing that and being adding clarity to that is just super important. Again, provides a protection against a lot of fighting amongst children. It's great for second marriages, mixed families, things where it's a little bit more complex. Let's say, especially if you don't have children, you might have nieces, nephews. Who gets the different things? Who gets the jewelry? Things that you don't really think about a lot. The living will, again, is the declaration if you do not desire life-sustaining treatment, such as, again, that do not resuscitate, if that is your wishes, of course. It eliminates the emotional and financial costs to your family, saying that, again, if the doctors are saying that it's not a viable chance to recover, do they have the do not resuscitate? Again, it minimizes the family suffering, and make sure the decision's yours, not family members being emotional, not, doctors that you may not know, not hospitals, and certainly not the courts. People may remember going back, this is probably 20 years ago, the Terry Schiavo case. She was in Pennsylvania and she was incapacitated on life support, and what her parents felt versus her spouse. She did not have a do not resuscitate or living will. There was fights in courts while this poor woman was just incapacitated and the family was fighting over it. It became a very public and ugly mess. So these documents are to avoid situations such as Terry's. We talked about a medical power of attorney grants the person of your choice the power to make these medical decisions if you're incapacitated by injury or illness. Again, they're the ones that step in and make those decisions for you. The durable general power of attorney is, again, giving the person that financial proxy the power to manage your assets in the event of your incapacity, so they can write checks for you and things like that. How about some great general information? And this is all in the document that I'll send to each of you, of course, just so you can list it in. Safes, where are they located? Bank deposit box, where? What bank? What location? Keys, combinations, access information, password for your computer, email, internet accounts, your social security, driver's license, passport number, Medicare info, any other religious or other information that you would want your family to have. And in the event of your incapacity, the living will, medical directive, powers of attorney, guardianships, details of intentions, and on your passing, organ donation. What are your burial or cremation wishes? The service details, the obituary, tombstone, in lieu of flowers, where do they want them to donate? Who's going to take care of your pets? Any other special requests that you have as well, that sometimes people don't think about all these things, but they're not specifically addressed through the will. You can also add a very personal, customized statement for the next generation. And it's not just about your assets or what you have, but what's important to you. I want you to always be there as a family. It's leaving that family love letter to the next generation. What values are important to you? What values do you want to be instilled in future generations to come? And how will they remember you and your legacy, other than just, oh, this was an account that I inherited from grandma or something like that. And after creation of the document, list the attachments and who may have copies of these, the placement of the document, whether it's in a safe or things like that. Even consider having a family meeting with your children, grandchildren, whoever you'd like. Feel free to have your advisor present so that they know what your wishes are, where to locate certain documents. So if that time came where you're not here, it could be the minimal disruption to your loved ones so they can continue on at a time where they should be grieving and not stressing about the financial matters at hand. The family love letter, value later, but also value now. Compile that information again, can provide missing documentation if you have it. It's a good chance to gather documents now versus when you're gone and your family has to try to track them down. Also, you may feel like you're underinsured in areas, or you don't have certain investments that you'd like to have. Well, it gives you an opportunity to really address this now. And by discussing it will help your family prepare for future events, create a more open and honest atmosphere about family plans, needs, goals, so you're each speaking together. Like I said, feel free to contact me with any questions you have. I know Michelle, Randy have my information. Happy to, of course, provide that. And I also want to go through here the family love letter. See if we can get full screen on this here. You see that as well? I think we're okay. I can't see the speaking, but
Yeah, you're fine.
excellent. Thank you. Just wanted to make sure. So this is the actual discussion guide. We talked about all the things in it. Is share the love, right? And they give I know it's a little hard to see, but again, everyone can have this. What are some to-dos to help you get prepared? This is how to get started. Talks about, again, the book and a lot of the information we went through the presentation. Has a table of contents of interesting sections here. Key contacts, advisors. It's a fillable PDF, or you can print it. You could put in, again, key contacts, phone numbers, access codes, things like that. Passwords for different websites. Important numbers, such as your social security, driver's license, Medicare, a financial list of your assets and advisors, medical doctors, pharmacy, mail-in pharmacy, different assets, access for military veterans, where military one source where people can your beneficiaries can reach out to, different stocks, real estate, personal property, reward programs such as airline miles, credit card points, other assets. They talk about to claim for check for unclaimed assets. Visit unclaimed.org as a great resource to go to. Digital assets, safety deposit box, storage units. We might have things saved in there. Personal safe, assets you've loaned to others, money owed to you. Your financial responsibilities, liabilities, credit debit cards, leases, other financial obligations, subscriptions, magazine subscriptions. What do we need to cancel? Streaming services. These are things that, again, your family would need to deal with one way or another when you're gone. Making it a little bit easier for them is important. Excuse me. Maybe pending lawsuits that could be going on. Insurance coverages and other benefits, employer benefits, VA benefits, important documents such as wills, trust, power of attorney, family forms, marriage licenses, things like that, tax returns, business documents. If you become incapacitated, making it easy. Who is your power of attorney, medical directive? If you want to get into budget expenses, income expenses that you have coming in, you could feel free to do that. Loved ones who will need care, people that maybe you help take care of, who are important to you. Pets, who will take care of your pets. Funeral arrangements to your liking. Any military funeral honors that, again, with dates of service and things like that. People you want involved, whether from a religious or other standpoint, giving eulogies. People who should be notified of your passing that, again, are maybe really important to you, that your family may not know how deep your relationship or friendship goes. People who you don't. I love that one. That's great. Attaining a death certificate, how to do that through your funeral director or the county clerk's office. An ethical will, again, things you're grateful for, things that are important to you in life, things you'd like to see your heirs use their inheritance to do. There's a lot of really good questions that really make you think that you could put down here in paper. About your family. Who are your parents, grandparents, brothers, sisters? Kind of almost creating that a little bit of a family tree, about you, to leaving that legacy. Again, any memberships or things important to you, additional facts about your family. It just goes, very, very deep into that. So again, with that being said, really would love to go and answer any questions that we may have about the presentation, the workbook, anything at this point in time where I can provide help. And again, I really appreciate everybody, again, having me on to speak today, and happy to really go through and answer any questions.
Hi.
Hello, hi, this is
Hi.
Jennifer. I was
Hi.
just writing a note, but I might as well just ask you.
Right.
I would like to comment that this is the most comprehensive workbook that I've ever seen. So I'd appreciate it if you could mail me the package, please.
Sure, happy to do so. And again, I certainly didn't create this. As you saw, it was created by other people, but I'm happy to do this presentation and share it with others. But you can reach out to either Michelle or Randy with information, or feel to email me directly. I'll be more than happy to do that for you, Jennifer.
Mike, is it something a physical copy or is it a PDF?
So it's a PDF, or I believe I can actually order some books. We used to have some bound books. I think they still make them, like a workbook with a nice table and everything. I'm happy to look into that as well. Make myself a note. That way, it's not just me printing out papers and stapling it together.
Right.
Or you can perhaps send an email with an attachment to maybe Michelle, if you have it. Then if there's anybody who wants it,
Yeah,
you
that would be the quickest and easiest way. If you can just send me send me an email attachment, and then I'll compile the list of people that are interested in getting it, and then I can just send it off to them.
That's perfect. I'll send you the workbook and the presentation as well, just so you can share it with anyone.
So, yeah, and
to me too, Michael.
You got it.
Okay.
Yeah, I really like the booklet too, not just the PDF. It's clear.
yeah. But in the meantime, this will be quicker, and then that way, if Mike finds out he can get them, I can arrange to pick them up from him and get them out to you, or however we can do that. So, but we'll work on that. But in the meantime, we can, if you just put your email. If you don't feel comfortable, you could just private message me, or however you want to do that, to me. If you don't want to put your email on for everybody to see, just put your email address to me somehow so that I know that you want it. Okay, in the chat, or send me an email. But I know Jennifer, and who else said that? Because I don't always know who everybody is.
I would like it also, Michelle. This is Patty.
Patty, Claire, and Jennifer all asked for it.
I don't know that I have everybody's email address handy, so, and I don't know who last names on everybody.
I sent mine to you with clarity.
Good, perfect, okay.
Mike, I just want to know, do you know if we're going to be quarantined again for 6 months? Because that's how long it would take to find all that information and fill it out. It's so comprehensive, but it's so perfect too.
Right.
Oh my God, it'll make your heirs and not cursing at you when you die, like, why can't I find this, and when can I do this, and how can I, or even if you're incapacitated. It's amazing, and I like that love letter too. I just have one quick question. Is there a difference between a living trust and a living will? I know what a living will is, but I've heard the term trust, and how's that different?
Yeah, so a living trust is basically, it's where assets are. Where living will is, again, it's really a medical document. So you can name a healthcare directive or put your wishes in writing. A living trust is a trust that is created to hold assets while you're alive for ease of distributing assets. So yes, they both have the word living, but they're actually completely different.
Yeah. So is the trust a good idea, even if you have an all adult, that you're leaving it to? Is it important to have a trust?
Sure. I mean, I think it could be beneficial, because think of it this way. We all have a variety of different situations. Let's say one of your children, or if someone has children, let's say, or someone you're leaving it to, they're in a marriage that you don't really like the spouse. And, by putting assets in a trust, it now creates that wall between maybe your heir and a spouse, just as one of many examples. Or let's say someone that you want to protect it from a lawsuit or something like that. It's just always good, not always good, but again, in many circumstances, it's good to have a trust. There are, again, additional costs to set up a trust with an attorney. Sometimes there's tax filings. So it should be at least a decent amount of money or assets to make it worthwhile. You don't want to set up a trust with like $5,000, and it kind of defeats the purpose of it.
Thank you.
Hello, Mike?
Too, if you don't mind too, on Claire, something you said about the amount of documents, and you're right, it takes a long time to get all this stuff together, but don't let perfect be the enemy of good. So even if you go through and you fill out a quarter of the book, guess what? You're still light years away above where maybe the average person is in terms of the preparedness. So don't feel like you have to fill out everything. If all you do is take your advisors.
You should do like have where things are and,
Exactly.
Oh, sorry.
No, that's okay. Yeah, if that's all you do is say where things are and staple the business cards of the people that may know where to find things, you're really making progress.
It will also help you if you organize your own things and realize what you have and what you don't have and
Right.
put it all together. So
Important. And you keep putting that off. I do anyway.
many people do. Most people do.
Yeah. Exactly.
Excuse me, Mike, do you also handle revocable trusts?
So again, a revocable trust is so let's talk a little bit more into the weeds with trusts, right? So there's two types of trusts. There's an irrevocable trust where you cannot take it back, or a revocable trust or revocable. There's two ways to pronounce it. I don't know the right way, but a revocable trust meaning you can revoke it. So here are the differences. There's pros and cons. If someone wants to create a trust for, let's say, for Medicaid planning purposes or for state tax purposes, it must be irrevocable, because the government knows if you can take it back at any time, you're not really giving that money away. So they still include it as part of your assets that could be subject to Medicaid, seizure, if you will, or liens against it.
Well, I feel that I probably need a revocable trust because I have properties in Nevada, California, Jersey, and in New York. So I need something.
Right.
Yes. So again, I'm not an attorney, so I don't do the setting up of a revocable trust. You would go to an attorney to do that. But you're right, in certain states, because there's different community property laws and things like that, it is very important to have a revocable trust at least set up to make it easy to pass to the next generation, but still have that opportunity to take back the asset if you wanted it. I would consult with an attorney on as far as setting up the trust part of it.
Okay. In the meantime, could you forward me that that booklet, that what did you call it?
The family love letter?
Yes,
Yep.
the family love letter.
Yeah, so again, please share information with Michelle or in the chat room, and I'll make sure that we get everybody the booklet presentation wherever you'd like.
Who was
Very
that
good.
speaking
Thank
to you? I don't know who that was.
It's Anna Severino.
Oh, gotcha. Okay, Anna. I think I have. Just make sure that before you get off this call that you let me know if you want the presentation, and then we'll work on getting the hard copies. Mike,
I'll just add that we had an attorney last month or 2 months ago that came and talked about some of these issues of trust. So if you're interested, Anna, I'll send that. You have the contact information, right?
That was
Michelle?
Goldberg. Am I?
yeah.
Yes.
Am I correct? I am in
Yeah.
contact with him. I am in contact with him.
Okay, because he can help you with the differences and what would be appropriate for you.
Okay. Thank you.
Good.
And
Very
Mike, if somebody doesn't have a close relative that they would want to burden with this, what would, because I hear that all the time. I couldn't put this on my distant, whatever. Who would they hire an attorney to be in charge once they pass to distribute what's left?
Yeah, I mean, you certainly could. There is,
Do you
obviously.
retain somebody? Is that how it works?
I'm sorry?
Do you retain somebody? Is that how it works?
Yeah, so typically, and again, some attorneys will do it, some don't. But speaking to an attorney first and making sure that they would do that. But for instance, we have some clients that, again, just don't have any family. So they have it set up where their attorney would be, or their accountant maybe, would be their executor, possibly a trustee for to pass, and maybe at least see through the, let's say, the disposition of assets to different charities, things like that they see fit. And again, obviously the attorney would charge a fee. Typically it's not, up front, but it's at the time you passed out of
Right.
the value of the estate, because their work doesn't really begin until that point.
Right, okay. Great. Does anybody else have any questions?
I'm sorry, I just missed the beginning of your introduction. Mike, are you a financial advisor or what's
I am
your
a
background?
certified financial planner, so I'm a CFP.
financial.
Yeah, what I really do is holistic financial planning for people, management of investments, just coordination of retirement, legacy planning, things like that. Again, being a CFP, I know a lot about tax. I know a lot about legal issues, but I'm not an attorney or an accountant. But being CFPs, you have to be well knowledgeable in all those areas.
Okay. Then do you know if even if you put a house in a child's name, not a child, an adult child, is that only good if for a Medicaid, or does it have any other benefits, or is it putting a tax burden on that child? And
so again, great question, and there's a couple ways to do it, right? So and again, this kind of goes into the attorney weeds here, but I'm happy my experiences. If you want to put a house in a child's name, then yes, you may. They'll be responsible for, let's say, property taxes if it's in their name directly, things like that. At the same time, too, let's say if you have a senior tax freeze on property taxes, you could lose that because now the house is not in your name. So that's another consideration. But the good news is you could, by getting it out of your name, you could protect the value of the house against a Medicaid lien being placed on it if you needed some Medicaid help in the future. There's also a strategy called a life estate, where what happens is you kind of get the best of both worlds. You give the house to your child for all intents and purposes, but you retain the control even though you're giving up ownership. So that way they can't sell the house until you pass. So that's a very helpful planning strategy with an attorney, but many of our clients have done that over the years. Life estate.
Mm-hmm. Interesting. Great. All right. Is anybody else?
I'm sorry. I'm trying to unmute because my phone is ringing. But then does that make that house for tax purposes a income house for the child? In other words, like a second house on their
No, not to my knowledge. No, because it's not a vacation home for them or
right.
investment property. Unless you're paying them rent and set up like a business, that's a different.
Yeah, but it's not.
Okay. Right. But also that if you can put a house in a trust, and that's a one way to protect the house. So and in terms of that, but that's very detailed legal work. So there are attorneys that you can go to or you can call just for a consultation. Doesn't cost you anything. You can put down some of these questions and then you can contact them.
Yeah. I just want to get an overview first. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So one thing about placing a house in a trust, I want to mention this. So let's say you own a house in your name, and let's say you paid $100,000 for it, but it's worth $500,000 today. If you pass away with the house in your name, your children get what's called a step up in cost basis. So now their principal, tax purposes, becomes the $500,000, the value at your death. So if they sell it away, no taxes due. If you gift it to a trust, it carries over your initial cost basis. So if you pass away, your children don't get that step up in basis. So now if the children sell the house, they owe taxes on the difference between the 100 and the 500. So there's pros and cons to weigh against each other. What's better off, gifting the house and getting the assets out of your name for Medicaid purposes, or keeping it your name, rolling the dice a little bit so your family gets the step up in value? There's not a perfect answer. It really depends on everyone's situation and how big that potential gain is.
So even if they sell it 2 months after your death, if it was left to them then they would get the carryover of the lower rate.
The step up in basis, right?
Yes,
so then they only be responsible for the income increase since your passing.
Yeah,
So let's say
that sounds
500
good if there's, yeah.
Right. So you got to see how
Mhm.
much the tax is. That's why it's not one size fits all. You got to
Sure.
really go through the numbers.
Right, thank you.
No problem.
Very good. Well, Mike, I just have to tell you that there are lots of requests for the book, and there are also lots of compliments on your presentation today.
Thank
Not
you, everyone.
surprised, but you should know that.
No, thank you. It was such a pleasure. I really love doing these things and spreading education. And even if, one person takes one idea and runs with it to make their family situation better, it was absolutely worth my time.
Thank you so much.
You got it.
Thanks, Mike.
Thanks again. Thanks
Good
for the
luck.
lunch and learned with Mike Money Matters. I just made that up.
Terrific. Have a good day, everybody. Nice
Yeah.
seeing you again. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.